Max Geraldi, let's get cooking and begin the conversation. Thank you.
Selamat siang semua. Halo. Jadi kita sekarang ada di Food for Thoughts dan topik kita Cultivating Change, Local Farming and the Path to Sustainability. Jadi di era sekarang ini banyak banget nih perkembangan di mana pertanian regeneratif, lalu cage free farming, lalu free range farming, dan juga ibaratnya community initiative. Jadi di hadapan kita hari ini kita dapat kesempatan untuk ngobrol-ngobrol dengan 5 orang yang menurut saya sangat sakti lah. Mereka melakukan banyak kerjaan dan aktivitas di pedalaman, di daerah-daerah yang kita bisa bilang tertinggal, dan melakukan banyak aksi-aksi regeneratif, aksi-aksi sustainability dalam memperbaiki food system. Dan mungkin pertanyaannya adalah seperti ini ya, kalau kita punya food system yang etikal, lalu bertanggung jawab dan juga merujuk ke kearifan lokal, apakah sistem seperti itu bisa bisa turut ikut dengan sistem profit dan sistem bisnis yang ada sekarang? Jadi apakah regenerative farming dan segala inisiatif yang mereka lakukan ini nyambung sama kegiatan bisnis, sama perekonomian, sama perkembangan dunia? Jadi hari ini saya merasa sangat terhormat bahwa semuanya bisa datang dan memberikan waktu, terutama Pak Ali juga, yang hari ini dia makan terbang jam 4 sore ke Jakarta. Lalu, jadi hari ini kita akan dengar kisah-kisah mereka dari hal-hal yang mereka sudah lakukan, aksi-aksi yang mereka lakukan, dan kita akan coba selami sedikit lah, ibaratnya apa sih kesulitan atau tantangan, atau bahkan ibaratnya justru kisah-kisah inspirasi dan harapan yang kita bisa dengar dan kita bisa mungkin terapkan di dalam lingkungan dan bisnis kita. Jadi mungkin pertama aku akan perkenalkan ya, siapa sih orang-orang ini. Saya akan mulai dari Pak Ali. Waktu saya baca profil Bapak Ali ini saya sangat kayak kagum juga. Karena beliau merunning mungkin 7 perusahaan sekarang secara bersamaan. Lalu dia punya inisiatif yang bersifat membangun di sumber pertaniannya. Jadi ibaratnya tadi saya banyak ngobrol dengan Talasi bahwa mereka mencoba menciptakan ekosistem bisnis di mana desa sumbernya justru mereka turun ke situ untuk berpartisipasi, untuk mengajak mereka berkegiatan, untuk mengajak mereka mengembangkan. Dan Pak Ali sendiri pernah menang Habibie Award dan dia juga ibaratnya sangat berpengalaman dalam regenerative farming, dalam zoologi, dalam konservasi, seperti multi talented lah Pak Ali ini ya, ibaratnya, dan humble. Dan jadi hari ini saya pengen lebih menggambarkan ini biar kalian tahu siapa sih yang ngomong hari ini. Lalu juga ada Pak Kadek dan Bu Putu dari Bodies Farm. Jadi Bodies Farm ini adalah salah satu mungkin peternakan ayam pertama di Bali yang modelnya itu free range. Jadi mereka mengedepankan etik, mengedepankan animal welfare dalam proses peternakannya. Mereka juga menerapkan banyak unsur dari domestik Balinya sendiri. Jadi bagaimana sebuah budaya Bali itu juga sudah punya budaya berternak ayam, mereka bawa kembali kearifan-kearifan itu dalam bisnis mereka. Lalu ada Mbak Aisyah dari Cage Free Association Indonesia. Cage Free Association juga sama modelnya, dia juga sebuah yayasan yang fokusnya adalah mengadvokasi petani-petani lokal atau peternak-peternak lokal untuk mentransisikan dirinya menjadi cage free farm, cage free egg farm jadinya. Dan jadinya Mbak Isa secara sudah beberapa tahun terakhir ini bekerja dengan produsen-produsen di daerah untuk mengajarkan mereka gimana sih cara mentransisikan diri mereka, apa sih benefit-benefitnya. Dan sejauh ini udah semakin banyak cage free farm di Indonesia dan juga semakin banyak juga demand-nya di Indonesia. Bahkan untuk saat ini bisa dibilang cage free demand itu malah nggak cukup supply-nya. Lalu ada lagi Mas Gumilang dari Kopernik, dia untuk community inisiatif di NTT ya. Yang sifatnya kalau Mas Gumilang ini aku bilang kayak antropologi kuliner lokal. Jadi dia datang ke sebuah desa lalu alih-alih dia mencoba mencarikan sebuah solusi, dia mempelajari dulu apa sih yang dilakukan masyarakat di sana untuk menyelesaikan masalah itu. Lalu dia akan bikinkan sebuah desain pemikiran yang lebih membantu tapi tidak terlalu sulit. Jadi semua orang yang ada di sini tuh menurut saya adalah punya talent yang masing-masing dan punya goal masing-masing yang sangat membantu sebuah sistem yang untuk lebih maju ke dalam sustainability. Jadi mungkin kita mulai dari Pak Ali. Bahwa tadi seperti saya bilang tadi, Pak Ali ini banyak pengalamannya. Jadi mungkin pertama gini Pak. Coba Pak cerita sedikit dulu deh tentang proyeknya Bapak.
Tes.
Silakan Pak.
Terima kasih kesempatannya. Thank you for the opportunity. Mungkin saya bisa bahasa Inggris juga nggak apa-apa.
Silakan.
Before I got too old dulu, I started 2 companies at the same time. Yeah, and they're both based in Bali. Yeah, so I started Thalasi, and I started Karu, the Karu Soju, the alcohol company, almost at the same time back in 2018. All those years, I wanted to make something for consumers. My background has been always in the industry. You know, we make a lot of products for the fast-moving consumer goods, the mass market. So the idea of Thalasi, so we have both represented here. We have both represented here, Thalasi and Karu. The Karu Soju is the alcohol company. Thalasi's idea was to add value at the origin. Okay, so you could see the long value chain, supply chain, from let's say, you know, we talk about let's say vanilla, cocoa, all the way to consumers. A very long chain, okay? And the idea of Thalasi is to go to where the origins of those agricultural products, for an example, cashew in Sumba, okay? Here we make vinegar from salak, okay? So the innovation that we bring to those origin, okay, and set up a plant there, a manufacturing plant, and then have an impact on the people as well. Okay, so we started Thalasi back in 2018, 2019 in Sumba. I went there for sightseeing, ended up building a factory there because of the congregation was trying to convince me to do something there. So I went back there after my sightseeing tour and set up that plant. Today, after 4-5 years, we employ more than 400 people in Sumba. This is payroll, real payroll, 400 people. Now people can say how many people they impacted, but this is on our payroll. So we have over 400 people working for us in Sumba, making cashew, making candle nut, okay, distilling citronella, making some local Robusta coffee. So that's the idea of Thalasi. And then after Sumba, we brought that idea to Bali. Now at that time also, at the same time, I started my alcohol company. Okay, and the alcohol company also very unique. We make it from yam, local yam. So we are not just like mixing alcohol like a lot of people do. We make alcohol from starch, from real starch, okay, the yam, and then we convert it, fermentation, and distill it off into alcohol. Now, talking about sustainability, as you're probably all aware, right, the value chain of a consumer brand, okay, the product that are available locally here. I mean, it's sad to see that even now, if you go out to, you know, a lot of places, where do people drink the imported drink? Aqua, Why do we need to bring aqua all the way from France? I mean, no offense, okay? The carbon that created, okay, just to bring that water all the way from Europe to here, okay, it's just unbelievable. Now, Thalasi idea is that, for an example, like cashew, instead of bringing cashew raw all the way to, let's say, Java, to Jakarta to process, that's a lot of carbon it takes. And then the waste created after you process the cashew, let's say in a big city like Jakarta, we have no place to dispose them, and then end up in a country landfill, in a city landfill. Now, by locating our process at the origin, we can make use every single part of that, and then the job creation, the impact that we have at the origin. So, thus, hence the slogan of Thalasi is the finest things from the origin. Okay, so we started out of cashew, and we went to 10, 12 origins of honey, working with the beekeepers locally, buying the honey directly, procure the honey directly, making sure they don't mix any sugar in it. Okay. I think there's a market, someone doing the test on all the honeys available in Indonesia, sold in consumers. They found the only honey that has no added sugar is ours. The only one. Okay? Now, because a very, the adulteration of honey is everybody knows it, it's just rampant. Now, there is also one reason why people add sugar to it, because they need to make it thicker. When they collect honey, it's liquid, fluid. So they would add sugar to make it thick. Now, the way we do it, we take the water out. We evaporate the water under vacuum, which is a low temperature. So we preserve all the goodness of honey. So I would suggest you, after this, you try the honey at Thalasi store. I'm just kidding. Okay, now, so I'm glad to be here. I mean, I'm sorry for my time. Again, I'm so fortunate to be able to start a little startup that we have right now. Okay, but it's starting to take shape now. Okay, the idea again, looking at sustainability, how do we make product at the origins? How do we add value? How do we transfer the innovation to the origin and have the impact on the local people? For an example, the impact that we done in Sumba, we brought a laboratory job skill, okay, because we have a quality control laboratory. Now, if you come to our place in Sumba, which is far remote in the island, in the middle of nowhere, you have people wearing lab coat. Now, that's a job that never existed. We created that job. It's a good paying job and a skilled job. Okay? So the impact of going to the origin to make the product over there and bring it as a consumer brand, not only that, we cut all the whole length of the supply chain, but the impact that we're making at the local is just enormous. Okay, so I'm very proud to present our company here. Okay, now I operate and run 8 companies actually. Okay, these are the 2 little startups. Okay, I started my business when I was 22. Actually, I started my business in New Jersey. Yeah, so a long way ago. So most of the time I'm here now developing our business. We're talking about sustainability. What have we created in Bali? We have created vinegar out of salad. Okay, we have concentrate the sap, the arenga sugar that you guys are drinking, the syrup. We make it from the sap, not from the what do you call that? Pressed things. And that's a lot of that also added a lot of sugar added. Okay, and then we started to make vanilla extract now here, so we transfer that too. So we want to do a lot of things in Bali. So again, we're fortunate because I have a company behind me that loan us that innovation, loan us that resources, loan us that research and technology, so for us to use it in Bali, okay, on a smaller scale in a way, all right? So that's maybe my part of the story for now. So just talk about the Thalasi, and then Karu is a different thing. And that's also part of a dream. You keep reading, I kept reading. George Clooney has his own tequila, Brad Pitt starting his own alcohol. Maybe I should start my own too. Okay, so that was the reason I started Garu. No. Well, I
Good
started
reason.
Karu because I like alcohol, drinking a lot of alcohol. And I don't think, I mean, there are some making that, I I think the quality, okay, was not there. So we started with yam. So we make our own alcohol. Started with yam, distill it. So you can find our product in Aman, in a lot of high-end aperitif, and a lot of these. Michelin stars, Circle Baker, all these guys. So we are concentrating on a very high-end alcohol. Okay, and the name is Karu from Batu Karu because we use the Batu Karu water. So we pipe all the way from the well, from the mountain, all the way to our distillery. So I'd like to invite you over to taste our Karu too. We have a stand here. And anytime you guys come to see our distillery, we welcome you. We have people there that conduct tasting. Okay, it's a bit, well, but maybe about 2 hours from here, an hour and a half on a better days. So thank you very much for the opportunity and a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
As I told you before, Pak Ali is a very interesting person with very interesting project going on. And lah, the man speaks for himself. And thank you, Pak Ali, for gracing us with your presence and making the time. So, but unfortunately, we have to excuse him because yes, kalau ada yang, if anybody got question before Pak Ali, we will be leaving the stage. Yes, Pak Ali. Banyak, Pak. So there you go. Jadi berikutnya kita ada tim dari Body Farm. Coba mungkin sharing cerita sedikit gimana ceritanya nih bisa tiba-tiba terinspirasi untuk membuat peternakan ayam dengan konsep seperti ini. Silakan terserah, Bu.
Hello, good morning, everybody. Probably I can share a little bit story about Body's Farm. Maybe I can do in both languages, maybe, because we have some from Bali and some from other country as well. Can you hear? Can you hear? Yes. So, Body Farms came from a concern from a mother. First, I'm a mother. I also happen to run a wellness retreat here since 2013. So I have what we call floating leaf eco retreat. For the longest time, as a wellness person, I believe that, I don't know what I say, wellness person, but I try to mindful about nutrition. We always wanted to find a clean source for our food, and we haven't been able to find it until when the pandemic hit. So like the whole Bali shut down and we don't know what to do. And I have staff that needs to still working, but we don't have anybody. We don't have guests that comes to do retreat. Nobody comes to Bali then. So that time I've said to myself, okay, maybe this is the time when we can start doing the dream of starting to have our own source of product for chicken, where it's cleaner, no antibiotic, no chemical, no hormones. So in order to help ourselves, because we think that we don't know how long the pandemic's gonna be over, and we think that food is the only way of surviving. So then we start with a very small amount of chicken. We started it in Lombok then, not in Bali yet, because we don't have land in here yet. So we had land in Lombok. So then we started to do a Buddhist farm. So we have two type of chicken. The one is the free range chicken that we call it kampung chicken. And the other one is the broiled chicken, the broiler, we call it the broiler. These two different type of chicken. The broiler, they are more they genetic modified. Apa bibit itu ya? The day old chicken, we have to buy them from the company. However, I was thinking of, okay, it's okay because the meat of this chicken is more tender and they don't have to be raised for so long, like for 6 months or 4 months. So we started with these two breed. The broiler chickens need to be in the area where they are controlled more. So they have to be in a closed barn with controlled temperature. The thing that I see in a lot of farm, like a broiler farm in Indonesia, they are very small, you know. The size of them, like for 1 meter, they have to fill 14 chicken in 1 square meter. I think it's a little bit cruel, you know, like they need more place, they need more bigger area to roam. They cannot be outside because they have a different genetic, so if they're outside, they're not gonna make it. However, I was thinking if they can have like a way bigger area, a way bigger indoor area, like we have 10,000, we have capacity for 10,000 chicken, but we only do maximum 4,000 chicken. That's it. So double the size and also the food that we gave them is different. Like we have our own food. We want to be able to use the organic material because floating leaf also have organic material from our guests. So all the organic material, we use it to cultivate what they call it the black shoulder flies, because these flies, we use the larva of the flies as the protein source for our chicken. So I was thinking that's a good idea because then we contribute to the not, you know, giving waste to the landfill, so our business will be cleaner. So we started doing that, and then here we are. Here we are now. We just started it with producing it just for floating leaf and the body leaf wellness. That's the two of our wellness retreat. And then now people start finding out about us, and then now we start providing it for others, like for restaurant. Here in Ubud is Begawan Biji restaurant here in Ubud. You should try them. And then Amandari as well as Cafe Batu Jimbar and Joy Local Food. We also supplies in some of the smaller supermarket in Canggu, right? Bali Direct and Grams Market. We also we also have in Delta Dewata Ubud. So yeah, so that's the history of it.
Wow. So Pak Kadek juga?
Mungkin saya
cerita.
sedikit tambahkan ya untuk pemeliharaan ayam boiler kita. Kebetulan juga saya juga mantan dari kemitraan ayam boiler di suatu perusahaan namanya Double K, di mana saya tertarik kenapa ikut owner saya untuk memelihara ayam organik yang probiotik. Karena saya tahu di mana pemeliharaan ayam secara komersial, secara kemitraan itu penggunaan antibiotik di dalam pakan maupun minum air ayam itu sangat kebablasan. Di mana efek sampingnya itu akan meresidu kita yang akan makan daging ayam itu sendiri. Pernah mendengar apabila kita sakit, 1 kali berobat ke dokter nggak pernah sembuh, 2 kali baru bisa. Nah itulah akibat dari efek samping dari antibiotik penggunaan pada ternak itu sendiri. Nah makanya saya sangat apresiasi kepada owner saya kenapa bikin usaha peternakan yang memang kategori sangat ekstrim ya, karena tanpa antibiotik. Tapi saya kagum kenapa ada namanya probiotik, namanya jamu. Nah di saat jamunya ini kita pergunakan di peternakan kita, biasanya antibiotik itu 3 hari, 5 hari udah digunakan. Tapi kita di peternakan kita ini menggunakan jamu, mengantisipasi untuk mengcover apabila ternak ayam ini sebelum sakit ini kita udah berikan dia nutrisi yang baik dalam tubuhnya. Mungkin yang satu jamu, yang kedua itu probiotik namanya. Probiotik itu berfungsi untuk bagaimana saluran pencernaan ayam itu supaya maksimal. Karena kalau saluran pencernaan ayam itu optimal, maka produktivitasnya akan tinggi. Makanya saya berani bersaing antara kemitraan sama ayam kita sendiri. Dari segi aroma pun di saat kita panen itu kita dapat apresiasi. Waktu ini kita dapat pemotongan di Peribangan kan. Waktu itu kita pemotongan dari jam 12 sudah sampai RPH, tiba-tiba mati mesinnya. Nah untuk perbaikin itu sampai 1 hari, bahkan ayam kita pun makan dan minum tidak ada. Makanya di sana diapresiasi sama Pak Setio yang punya RPH itu, wah ini ayam ini luar biasa, nggak ada makan, nggak ada minum, hidupnya semua. Artinya nggak ada mati. Itulah saya yakin bahwa probiotik dan jamu ini sangat kuat untuk kita pertahankan untuk pelihara di ayam kita tanpa menggunakan antibiotik. Gitu
Wow.
aja. Ya.
So,
Ya.
saya baru
Cuma
dengar
itu.
lagi gini. Jadi bukan hanya membuat peternakan ayam yang sustainable, tapi juga mengintroduksi jamu sebagai probiotik
Yeah, we use jamu.
lokal Indonesia.
Jamu is the key to make our chicken healthy.
Well,
We've
makes us
given
healthy.
jamu since day one.
So body farm dengan probiotik dan jamu treatment. Dan berikutnya mungkin Mbak Aisyah dari Indonesian Cage, kita ada presentasi sedikit ya untuk Mbak Aisyah ya.
Oke, terima kasih kepada Max yang telah berbaik hati memoderatori pada hari ini. Perkenalkan, saya Aisyah Nurul Fitri. I'm a veterinarian from Indonesian Cage Free Association. Jadi di ICFA ini kita ada dari background dokter hewan, peternakan, dan pelaku usaha secara langsung. Karena tujuan kami adalah memfasilitasi peternak yang memang sudah cage free dan juga memfasilitasi peternak yang ingin belajar transisi dari baterai ke cage free. Karena seperti yang kita tahu sendiri, untuk di peternakan baterai itu stocking density-nya itu tinggi, kepadatannya itu tinggi, ayamnya sering rawan sakit, apalagi kalau cuaca tropis di Indonesia yang tiba-tiba panas, tiba-tiba hujan, ayam layer itu sangat sensitif, broiler juga begitu, makanya harus diatur temperaturnya, apalagi di layer kena perubahan temperatur sedikit langsung head stress, meninggal berturut-turut, itu bisa saja terjadi. Nah, cage free ini kenapa sekarang sangat ngetren? Karena manusia sudah mulai sadar bahwa selain kita bisa makan enak, tentu aja kita butuh kelestarian alamnya tetap terjaga, peternaknya juga sejahtera. Karena di Indonesia sendiri case-nya saat ini peternak ayam petelur itu memang banyak, produk telur melimpah dan harganya itu juga murah. Tapi apakah peternaknya sudah sejahtera? Terlebih jangan jauh-jauh mikir ke ayamnya. Peternaknya apakah sudah sejahtera? Kalau peternak belum sejahtera, apakah ayam juga bisa sejahtera gitu. Jadi tujuannya di ICFA adalah bagaimana kita bisa memberikan produk yang high quality, tapi kita memikirkan peternaknya harus sejahtera juga, kemudian ayamnya juga sejahtera. Karena kalau ayam sejahtera, ayam bahagia, sistem imunnya membaik, ayam bisa lebih dengan mudah menangkal penyakit. Maka di sistem cage free, terutama untuk layer ayam ras, itu kami menekankan di biosecurity dan juga pencegahan. Seperti yang tadi Bu Putu bilang, itu preventionnya bisa pakai herbal, itu memang cukup ampuh untuk imunomodulator atau merangsang sistem imun. Kemudian kita juga menghindari antibiotik dan juga kita mengusahakan pakan yang nabati, meskipun ada yang belum nabati, tapi menghindari pakan dari ingredients yang dari poultry karena alergennya kan tinggi. cage free juga kita mementingkan bagaimana supaya orang yang mengkonsumsi itu tidak tertrigger alerginya, yaitu dengan cara bagaimana kita memodifikasi pakannya supaya ayamnya juga tidak alergi. Jadi kita pakai pakan nabati dan juga menghindari pakan yang terdiri dari ingredients yang mengandung poultry gitu. Nah, kemudian di ICFA sendiri karena kita tujuannya adalah untuk mempererat jaringan peternak cage free, kita punya program-program seperti musyawarah nasional. Ya seperti asosiasi peternak pada umumnya lah di Indonesia gitu. Kami punya acara internal, kebetulan kami kemarin baru adakan di Interkontinental Bali Sanur, itu dihadiri oleh sekitar 40 peserta, 33 dari peternak dan sisanya dari sponsor. Kemudian kita juga ada training setiap 1 tahun 3 kali. Jadi trainingnya ini nanti kita fokuskan ke peternak-peternak yang sudah punya sistem baterai tapi mereka tertarik untuk melakukan transisi ke sistem bebas sangkar atau sudah siap, sudah punya research-nya, sudah punya lahan, sudah ada kandang tapi nggak tahu bagaimana pemeliharaannya, terus juga mungkin masih bingung udah punya tapi anak kandangnya belum bisa bagaimana manajemennya, itu kita sediakan pelatihan kuotanya setiap 1 kali pelatihan itu untuk 17 peternakan gitu. Kemudian kita juga adakan webinar, nanti webinar selanjutnya ada di pertengahan bulan Juni, kita kupas tentang sertifikasi dan bagaimana membedakan label antara telur yang cage free, telur yang omega dan juga telur yang konvensional karena penting banget bagaimana konsumen itu bisa tahu gimana sih kita mengenali telur cage free yang ada di supermarket. Kebetulan kami di ICFA juga bekerja sama dengan sertifikasi global yang namanya Certified Humane dan itu sertifikatnya berlaku secara global. Jadi misalkan peternak ingin ekspor bisa dengan sertifikat itu karena kan untuk pasarnya cage free sendiri di Indonesia masih menengah ke atas. Karena itu tadi kita menekankan bagaimana peternak bisa sejahtera, ayamnya sejahtera, peternaknya sejahtera dengan sistem produksi yang kompleks. Kita harus mengikuti standarnya, kemudian di sertifikasi ini juga dijelaskan per meter persegi harus 9, kemudian pakannya harus kayak tadi nabati atau tidak mengandung protein yang dari poultry. Kemudian juga biosecurity-nya diperketat sehingga untuk saat ini mungkin harganya memang agak lebih tinggi dari telur baterai. Tapi sebanding dengan quality produknya begitu. Jadi ayamnya sejahtera, peternaknya juga sejahtera gitu tujuannya. Terima kasih, itu dulu mungkin dari saya.
I feel like we all become so smart about chicken just in half an hour. So basically like the sources here, they are really knowledgeable. They are one of the front man of doing this new type of sustainability transition. And now we have Mas Gumilang. He's not doing chicken, but he's doing something else that is also very interesting.
Hi everyone, selamat siang.
Siang.
Perkenalkan, mungkin saya akan mulai dengan sedikit perkenalan mengenai saya dan juga Kopernik, tempat saya bekerja saat ini. Mungkin bisa ditampilkan visualisasinya atau slide-nya. Jadi Kopernik adalah lembaga riset dan pengembangan or research and development lab that we work to address social and environmental issues. And we work by using and utilizing and testing various solutions, potential solutions. And today I will talk a bit about one of our exciting program. It's called Pangan program, literally means food. We work in West Timor, is Nusa Tenggara. And it started from a small initiative aiming to take part in addressing the issue of stunting in Indonesia, where we have a high prevalence of stunting in children. And starting from that smaller initiative, we work and learn from various communities we work with. And now it became a bigger program called pangan that worked to revitalize the whole food system in the region by introducing new, innovative, yet simple technologies, but also working with communities to learn and relearn about practices inspired by indigenous or traditional farming practices, and also practices that are more sustainable as well as more climate resilience, because in addition to other farming or agricultural challenges, we still have climate crisis that we have to address. And a bit back to previous slide, a bit of introduction on the way that we work. So first, I said that we work to address environmental and social problems, and we work it starting by identifying specific challenges or unmet needs in the community. So we heard from them what are their challenges, and we generate ideas about what are potential solutions. It might not be something entirely new. It can be from the communities or from another region that we can test. And then we work to test and piloting on them to see if it's effective and can be implemented on a larger scale. That's pretty much the way we work. And after we got some of the most effective solution, we will work to with the community too or other institutions to replicate those innovations. So that's pretty much the way we work. And now in terms of the issue that I will share about, we can go to the next slide. So in identifying the unmet needs, especially in agricultural sector, we have done research. It's unmet need research. We aim to understand what are challenges faced by farmers or everyone that is involved in the supply chain. We conduct the research across Indonesia and also another research focusing on Kalimantan and Papua. And from that findings, one of the key insights that we got, that is on the next slide, that the preservation or the drying is one of the most challenging issue faced by farmers. It caused a lot of food loss, also some financial loss too. It is estimated that we lost up to 3 billion US dollar per year just because of this drying and preservation issue. And that's why I'm gonna move to more specific solutions, innovations that are part of the larger Pangan program. So as I mentioned before, Pangan program is a rather comprehensive program. This is one of the key components, but we also work with community to utilize locally available foods for their consumptions. Again, in addressing stunting and malnutrition. As an output, we also work with health cadres to produce Timorese cuisine cookbook. So we identify what are local foods, how to process it. We learn from elders, but we also work with younger families, health cadres to innovate with local foods. That's a part of the program, and I can share more about it on another opportunity, but today I'll focus on one of the innovation, which is a solar dryer. So this is a simple technology. It can be developed or can be built as a whole in Timor. So for most of materials, it was already available in the region. And the way it works, so the transparent body, it's made from polycarbonate, so sunshine can go through and the heat will be retained. And farmers can dry their products within the trays inside. And we have exhaust fan or chimney to help with the moisture. And it's publicly available, so everyone who are interested can open the guideline and build it themselves. And the interesting thing that we have done, especially in Timor, so we have worked with solar dryers in many other regions, from Bali, other Kalimantan, as well as many other regions in East Nusa Tenggara. Next slide. And I will focus more on our work under a PAN program in West Timor. So, first, when we go to new region with a new approach or new program, we have to understand what are the contexts in the community. So previously, we have been working with farmers, especially those who are working with a single crop or commodity. In Bali, we work with coffee farmers. In some region, we work with farmers producing copra. And however, in West Timor, since we work to utilize diverse local food, we try the solar dryer to help preserving a diverse kind of food. So, and it's also aligned with our other components of the program to campaign for locally available food. So it's complementing the aspect of consuming locally available seasonal fresh food with the preserved crops. And what we do to contextualize this solution, next slide, is we learn from the traditional way of food preservation in the region. So one of interesting thing that we observed is usually in traditional kitchen, community would dry their whole crop or corn usually. They just hang it usually right above the traditional stove, open fire stove usually. So it will get some smoke and get dry and preserve better. So we learned that instead of using usually we use trays, only trays in the solar dryer, we try to add hanger for them so that it can line with the way they usually dry their crops, especially when they often consume corn and they have wide variety of local corn in the region. So next slide. So this is the pics of them. So you see we can dry various type of commodities in this one. We can go to the next slide and next one. So one of the interesting thing, we can maybe go to the next slide. So one of the interesting that we observed, so at first we try to contextualize the solution to the region. However, when we work with community, it's also interesting how farmers and communities that we work with would take the solution further. So we have done our part, and since we work closely with them, this community that also use solar dryer have some kind of ownership in testing and using it. So two interesting things that I observed. First is that in one of the village, we later learned that the community started to use the solar dryer collectively. Before, we don't really have intention for them to do it. We usually work with a single farmer or family because it's mostly on experimentation or testing period. We're not ready to just to spread it out yet. But when we work with this family who are with us to test the effectiveness of this solar dryer, they actually talk with their neighbors or maybe their relatives that actually live a bit far to use this solar dryer collectively. And it's influenced by the thing that, so the way solar dryer works, it can make drying faster. But in the context of Timor, they don't really need to have for it to be super fast. But they have reduced time, but they also have limited crops to dry. And that's why they got an idea, maybe we can use it together. And then they also have an idea to organize a collective fund to help maintain the sole dryer as a group. Another thing, the way it spread, of course we did our work to disseminate the effectiveness of the solution, but on one of evening when we had a dinner with the family who has sole dryer in their farm, we just chilling, and then a relative of that family comes to visit because they are a bit of a relative of this family, and they come to see and learn about the solar dryer, which is really interesting because when we work with and collaborate with community, it can strengthen the ownership of this single solution. They can also help us to contextualize the solution for them, and we can see that the impact would be more sustainable. So that's a bit of story from what I have done in Timor. Thank you. Maybe back to us.
We need like 3 hours to get all these guys to talk. So like, we're gonna come back to it. We just switch it to English because mostly people are. So, as you see now, these people, they're doing really interesting work, right? They are doing what I call the extra miles. Because a lot of these things people don't want to do, right? They don't want to go to the community, they don't want to understand what the society needs. They just try to bring solutions from outside and think like, oh, here you go, just do this and then your problem will be fixed. And most of the times, nothing gets fixed like that. So maybe now we get to ask these guys like difficult questions. So, for example, I want to tanya with Body Farm first, maybe, because there's so much skepticism, right, about this new model of sustainable farming, especially in Indonesia, maybe more from Indonesian people. Maybe can we share a little bit, like what is the challenges and how do you go through those challenges? It is a lot of work.
It's a lot of work to begin with because like you are going to war, you have to prepare like first.
Like Sun Tzu.
Yeah. So it is in the beginning only because you have to set the black shoulder flies area, like where you want to cultivate them. So yeah, it is just work at the beginning because you have to control the food because you have your own food, yeah. But once you are used to do that, it's just add a little bit production times because our production time is longer than your regular and then also because we have no hormone, they cannot be big. Our chicken is only 1.4 kilogram whole. That's it. We cannot reach more than that because it's natural.
So what makes you go through the day with all those difficulties?
Because I believe in the health. Like, what's the point of having a lot of food that doesn't make you healthy? Basically that. And also the children as well, when they have a lot of hormone, they tend to go to get their period faster than normal. Yeah. And also personally, I have, in the health-wise, I cannot have produce food that have hormone because I have a personal problem with that in my health. So that's why I believe in this. Yeah.
Thank you, Bu Putu.
Sama-sama.
Maybe sama juga pertanyaannya untuk Mbak Isa. Gimana caranya maksudnya untuk nyembatanin transisi orang-orang yang belum yakin?
I think the biggest problems in Indonesia is education, because you know how people can choose cage-free eggs if they don't understand or get educated about the benefit of cage-free eggs for people, for environments. So that's why I think our mission is to make people understand about cage-free eggs. So that's why I'm here. And then the biggest challenge for the transition is how production costs can be reduced, so the egg price will be go lower, I think. But that will take time because we are still like doing some research and also finding new technologies to reduce the cost. So I think that's to our mission is to how to make public understand about cage free and the awareness of animal welfare for farm animals, and also how to reduce the cost for cage free egg production.
Wow. And maybe just to add context, because I also work as consultant for hospitality, that almost all major hospitality group is already opting for 100% cage-free egg procurement. So this will be happening in the next 2 years. At the moment, there's more demand than the supply, but there's not much people transitioning because that's why Ibu Aisyah exists. And maybe for Mas Gumilang, like, so Mas Gumilang's story is very related to, I call it like before, anthropological culinary. So you understand a lot about how people work with their food system in their own land, like the indigenous approach, the way they see their food. I would like to understand, like, is there any story that you can share with us that is very remarkable for you and very inspirational, that you, instead of like, you come there to teach them, suddenly they teach you something instead?
First of all, I personally is a generalist, so I'm not exactly the expert, not in indigenous farming or even agriculture, and yet I work with them to make this wonderful impact with them and make some positive changes. So the thing is, I think one of the most important thing to always remember, and not always easy, is to accept that our proposed solution is not always perfect. And it's kind of similar to an art. Also, again, I'm not an artist. It's like when you put it outside to the community that you work with, it's not fully yours anymore. So it will be the community you work with can have some more room to change, to contextualize the solution for their use. And that's the case if they find it effective, but in some other cases they might not find it effective and just stop engaging with it. And it's something that we have to accept too. And one of the interesting thing is, as I mentioned before, the Pangan program is started from a smaller initiative, starting from a very simple solution to address something. We started, so Kopernik usually before worked a lot to distribute simple technology such as solar light or water filter. So we have this experience and we want to contribute in preventing the stunting. And we work to improve water access by the water filters that have been with us for years. We started with that simple initiative. Then we also learn from others who work with moringa as a superfood that might help to address this issue. But it was tested effective in one region, but when we come to Timor, we learn a whole new thing, that in some communities, they might not familiar with moringa. So we're not gonna try introduce these whole new things. We might replicate it for the community that already consuming them and have a cultural relation with it. But we also learn with them to identify what are local foods and see if it's nutritious and how to utilize it. And at the start, when we begin learning and developing this Pangan program, we still have some skepticism from local leaders that see us as just another NGOs that would propose solutions that not contextual to their region. We have this skepticism, but what we need to learn, what we have to accept that sometimes we also have to learn from those who are skeptics to what are our solutions. So the solutions come from everywhere, and I think the biggest learning that I have is how we spend all these years trying to work with local food activists, local agricultural experts, from mama, from health cadres, is that their knowledge are there, and we are there to help them compile them and reshare them to the whole community.
Wow. So, like the more I speak with them, the more I'm amazed. So basically, like, thank you for spending the time with us. We're gonna close the session real soon because we're kind of tight on the deadline. But please, this is really important that there are sustainable farming food system in Indonesia. Is working, is growing, and if you know people, if you are interested, these people are really available to give input, to give stories, to give you all the insights of all the obstacles and difficulties that they have to go through and how to go through it. So again, thank you so much for making the time for the talk, and feel free to mingle and try the products, and please enjoy the Ubud Food Festival. Thank you so much, everybody. And the speakers, thank you for coming from all the way.
Thank you.